Life is a journey and sometimes can be a lonely road.
I must say that I love your sound bites, the intro was actually soaking me to prepare me for this interview. I think that henceforth, anytime I'm going for an interview, I have to listen to sounds like that. It has really given me some sort of power to really begin this interview.
We mind to discover, we learn to discover, we observe to discover. Friends can uncover you at the same time discover you. But I don't want to discover you, I would rather discover more, so I go on the internet and I listen to words of wisdom and intellect. Availability of information, interviews of great men and women all over the diaspora and all nations.
So at the end of my study, I found out that there was this young man, a very hardworking young man who was married, and unfortunately he was mistakenly diagnosed as HIV. Last misdiagnosed of HIV. He was on anti-retroviral treatment.
Make you feel at ease. The Discovery Show on YouTube got the steez. Now Perry, the presenter, please pose for the camera. I wanna hear you say cheese. We are airborne like a flu. I wanna hear you sneeze. Choo! Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are welcome to the Discovery Show TDS TV here on Facebook and on YouTube. This is a show that seeks to interview professionals in the diaspora and beyond who are making significant impact in the area of healthcare, politics, religion, academia, and the others. My name is Precious Adadidiodu, ably produced by James Kwabena Opon. This evening, we are privileged to have another person who is making significant impact in his own area. He's actually a registered nurse and also an epidemiologist, as well as a PhD student at the University of South Carolina, USA. I'm happy to be joined by Mr. Daniel Amoatika. Daniel, you're welcome to the TDS show.
Precious, thanks for having me here. Great to be here.
Great. Thank you so very much for spending time with us. I know you are very busy, but you just agreed to sit with us. So tell us, for those who don't know you, who is Daniel? Tell us a bit about yourself.
Daniel Amoatika. That's my middle name. I'm from Ghana. I'm a Ghanaian. I grew up in the Upper East region. Went to Notre Dame Senior High School or Notre Dame Minor Seminary. And I'm a registered nurse. I worked in, basically I was working in Accra, Nyao Medical Center between 2014 and 2020. Whilst I was working at Nyao, I had this man in charge who was very inspiring. Marjana to MJ, we used to call it for short. And MJ was like, Daniel, I see you have interest in research. Why don't you think about doing epidemiology? And then back then, the program was strictly for Ghana Health Service workers, and I was working at a private facility. And I was like, okay, but this program is for Ghana Health Service workers. I'm not a government worker. But well, let me give it a shot. So I applied. When I was actually applying, I bought two forms. Well, that's MPhil in community nutrition and MPhil in epidemiology and disease control. I was just giving it a shot because I was scared from the beginning that I wasn't a government worker, right? I was working at a private
just before that, Daniel. Just before that, I think you've jumped so high, isn't it? Tell us a bit of where did you start schooling, your JHS, tell us a bit.
Okay. All right. I didn't know you wanted all those basics. That's fine. All right. So I started my junior high school in a very small community in Upper East region. I mean, it's popular for religious reasons. That's Uyaga. That's where the Catholic Church. If you know the Catholic Church, the history in Upper East region, that's a very historical community, right? So I went to St. Martin's Junior High. From St. Martin's Junior High, I went to Notre Dame Senior High. That's also a minor seminary Catholic school in the Upper East region. That's we don't like saying, but we are one of the elite schools in the country. And then from Notre Dame, I had the opportunity to study BSc in nursing at the University for Development Studies. That was between 2009 to 2013. In there, I had some interest, a little bit of interest in research too, but I thought that my major focus there was just studying nursing. And my interest in research actually took some significant strides when I had to do my thesis. It was myself, my cousin, and my colleague Elvis were the three in the team that were supposed to do the research. And then at the time, my academic advisor or research supervisor, he was somebody who had interest in nutrition. So, I mean, we wanted to do something simple, but he was like, okay, no, I want you guys to look at how often if a mother breastfeeds a child on one breast, let's say for 3 times, and then breastfeeds a child on the other breast for let's like 2 times. What's the difference? That's in terms of the hind milk and the baby being fed with the fore milk. What's the difference? So we had to go through that. That was intensive, and then that actually ignited that desire to do more in research. And I was like, okay, I'll go back to my village and do this thing. I mean, I didn't have so much money to probably involve other people, and my colleagues were kind of busy too. So I went to my village with the help of some few colleagues. We had to take all those anthropometric measures, check like the waist circumference, check the height of the babies, and that's one of the most difficult things to do, measuring the height of a baby. But we went through it, and the results were fascinating. We were able to see that a baby being fed with the fore milk, that's the milk that comes first. In terms of the nutritional status, the baby benefits more if the baby feeds on the hind milk. That's the one that comes after the fore milk. And in terms of the differences that the duration on the breast, if the baby is being kept on the breast shorter and then shifted to the next breast, basically what it means is you are feeding the baby most of the time with the fore milk, which in terms of nutritional elements, it's not that so good. And that was the beginning of my desire for research. And then whilst working as a nurse at the Amoatika Center, after that inspiration from my boss back then, MJ, I decided to take the test, go for the interview for the epidemiology. And I mean, God was so good. Even though I wasn't working in the government sector, I had the opportunity to study my MPhil in epidemiology and disease control at the University of Ghana. And that has been like one of the most, let me say, one of the biggest decisions, one of the most positive impacts this has made in my life, like studying MPhil epidemiology at the University of Ghana. It's been an eye-opener for me because first and foremost, once we started academic work at the University of Ghana, the first thing was we had to do a research, what we call a one-day field work. They would divide a class into 2, or just a class of 11 people. They divided us into 2. So basically, they engage you. They try to bring that aspect of being a field epidemiologist to go on the field, identify a problem, and then you see how you can make, in terms of public health action, recommendations that you're going to make. So myself, my friends, mates, Ifa, Kweku, and then Mr. Greg, that was us in that group. So we're like, okay, you know what? Let's just go to the common market. That's not so far from School of Public Health. So we went in there. We're just looking, trying to find out.
We're going to come there, Daniel.
Okay.
We're going to come to the research work. So tell us, I mean, obviously from UDS, you moved to University of Ghana for MPhil epidemiology. And then now you are doing a PhD. So tell us a bit about that. I mean, how did you get there? Was the process involved? What scholarships did you apply for? What opportunities are available? Tell those available, available on this space. If you can use about 10 minutes to tell us your journey into PhD, then we'll come to the research and the other things as well.
All right, sure. So the journey to the PhD, sometimes I look back and then first and foremost, it's just great, you know. It's a story I had to tell people because people just look at it and it's like it was that easy, but it was one of the toughest things I had to go through. First and foremost, big ups to my high school mates. Maxwell is right here doing his PhD too. Joseph has been my friend, my high school mate as well. So before getting into how my journey into the PhD, I like to go into this my thesis. So I did my thesis. Maybe we'll talk about that later, but that's connected to my journey into PhD. I did my thesis in the Upper West region in 2017. At the time I was doing my thesis, the HIV prevalence in the Upper West region was higher than the national prevalence. So I was kind of thinking, what could be the reason? I mean, in terms of population, that was like before we had these new regions. Upper West was like the region with the lowest population in the whole country. So how come they have a prevalence of HIV that is more than the national prevalence? So I was thinking through, so I was like, okay, maybe, I mean, Upper West is located in Savannah Belt with high temperatures, most of the time exceeding 40 degrees. And studies have shown that with the test kits that we use in testing for HIV, if they are stored outside temperatures ranging above 40 degrees, we're likely to have test results that are most likely false positives or maybe even false negatives. And that was my journey. And once I got in there and I carried out the test, I realized that the sensitivity and then the specificity, that's in terms of the ability of the test kits to detect HIV when indeed HIV is there, or to detect negative outcome when indeed the person is actually negative, they were low. They were really below the WHO standard, right? They were like 88 for sensitivity and 92 for specificity, which were way, way low. So at the end of my study, I found out that there was this young man, a very hardworking young man who was married, and unfortunately, he was mistakenly diagnosed as HIV. Last misdiagnosed of HIV. He was on anti-retroviral treatment, which indeed he was negative. So at the end of it, I took the blood samples, right? Because over there, what they used to do was they'll do a test for HIV using the first response, and then they'll confirm with oral quick. That's acceptable for limited resource settings for the test of HIV, some of the guidelines. But I was like, okay, once I saw this imbalance, this misdiagnosis, I didn't end there. I took the samples to the National Public Health Reference Lab where they did Enolia, and then it came out negative. And that's the standard confirmatory test for HIV in Ghana. Once it was negative, we had to help this person. Basically, the person was going through a whole lot of trauma. Imagine being misdiagnosed. And this is a very small community where everybody knows everybody. I mean, sometimes you feel like this is a private matter. My HIV status is supposed to be between me and my family, me and my immediate surrounding. It goes beyond that.
And
I had to interview this.
Especially in a community where stigmatization is at the crescendo, isn't it?
Exactly. This person was basically stigmatized. I mean, he was just living through, and he had to open up and tell me that he's a Muslim, all right, but his religion does not permit him to use alcohol. But it feels like that's the only way he has to go through this. And that was basically what he was using to get through the stresses of life, because it was too tough for him, right? So right from there, and my friend Maxwell, he's already here. Maxwell will be completing his PhD soon. Maxwell asked Joseph if he knows anybody who has an interest in HIV, because a researcher, that's a professor, he had won a grant to do a study on HIV. And mostly this is how they recruit the international students. And most of us that are doing our PhDs in these renowned universities is basically through research grants. A supervisor or an academic professor gets a grant to carry out the research. He or she needs some research assistants, and that's how you get through, right? So when Maxwell told me, I was like, damn, I'm interested. I really want to do this. And it was on HIV, aging, and cognitive decline. That was basically within my research interest. So I shot this professor an email. She's a Jamaican, Dr. Brown, and she was more than willing to talk to me. So we had a Skype interview. Right after that, a few days later, she was like, she's seen that our research interests aligned, so she would like to work with me. But there was something else that was going to be an issue. I didn't have a GRE score. Most of the American schools that you apply to, they would require a graduate entrance record exam score. That's very important. For that exam, there is no pass or failure, right? Once you go take it in Ghana, it doesn't show whether you've passed or you failed. But the schools have their cutoff point. Every school and the cutoff point. But luckily, when COVID came in, I mean, COVID was an unfortunate thing, but it also came with its own good things. Once it came, most of the schools in the US waived GRE. But at the time I had my, that was 2019, that I got this, my professor to accept me. Because before you apply for a PhD program, that's the first requirement. If you don't have an academic advisor, you can't even apply for the program. So before you apply for a PhD program, you need to reach out there, be sure you have an academic advisor first before you can apply. So once I got her, and now my challenge was to get my GRE, and the school had their own cutoff. So I planned in December to write my GRE, and I was ready, all set. But by then I was also working on a CDC project with my friend Smith in Northwest region. Yeah, that was in the Northwest region that we're working on the CDC project, school project. Unfortunately, when I was ready, I was mentally, psychologically then. I lost my brother then. He was like somebody that saw me through it all. He wanted me to be great. He wanted me to do big things. And he was always there for me, And that was I can say for my whole life. I lost my mom, but the pain losing my brother compared to me losing my mom, man, that was the toughest thing I had to go through. And I was just ready to write my exam too. And by then the program director had contacted me and asked me, Daniel, what's up? When are we expecting your GRE scores? It was tough. And I was scared. I was worried. I didn't know what was going to happen if I don't submit my GRE scores. Was I going to get my admission? What happens to my scholarship I had gotten already? But these things, they work differently. At the department level, you can get your supervisor, you can have your scholarship already, but you still have to go through the graduate admission system. Once you don't qualify through that, it doesn't mean anything. The scholarship, it has to, first of all, the school level first, right? So I wrote back to my advisor. I told her, she copied the program director at the time too, and they were like, they understand that. This one thing about these people is most of these things they understand, and they try to be there for people psychologically. So she was like, so which is the earliest date I can possibly retake this exam? And I told her in May, I can take the exam back in May, because my brother's burial was somewhere around January. So I was trying to get through that. I got through that. I wrote my exam and I did my application. It went through, when you're applying for any public health related program in America, they use what we call SOFAS. It's a one system that everybody applies through. Whether you're applying to University of South Carolina, Harvard, Buffalo State University, once it's a public health program, you all apply to the same software. That's the same, it's a network system, SOFAS. That's where all of you apply through. Okay. So I applied, but when you're applying,
just a second. Yeah. No, just to recap what you've said so far. So what I get from you is that, first of all, you had an interest, yeah? You had a research interest and you were on the lookout. And then once you saw that advertisement, you reach out to the professor. So communication here is very critical, isn't it? And then
very critical.
You did your follow-up.
And one thing about it is you have to reach out. You have to reach out. You don't have to wait. You have to reach out. And I was going to talk about another opportunity about writing GRE that I still benefit from it up to now. If you're feeling if you go online and try to register for your GRE, there's that part that it asks you, do you want to receive alerts from schools where you are probably maybe interested? That was the catch. One of my high school classmates, one of my all-time friends, Maxwell, told me. Maxwell was like, make sure you take that button. Because he got to school through that. It wasn't through any recommendation. He had some high scores. So the schools contacted him. Straightforward. He didn't have to go through all that stress. So I take that button, right? Even up to now, I still get alert. Yesterday, I had an alert from an email from Michigan University asking me if I'm still interested in their public health programs. And they even put out the coordinators' numbers, emails, so you can contact directly and talk to them. And most of these programs, they'll tell you there's funding for PhD, there's funding for masters. Straightforward, they tell you, right? So that's one of the advantages. I do try to share with some of my colleagues. I've shared over more than 4 schools that have sent me emails. I've shared with most of my colleagues. I try to do that because most of these things, that's the only way out. If we want to make Ghana Health Service, if we want to come back and make a difference in our population, make a difference in the lives of our people, obviously, it means that most of us have to go out there. We have to acquire more knowledge. It's not the degrees, it's the knowledge and then our ability to, at the end of the day, impact on our population. That's what we want to do. We want to make the change. And if we want to make the change, it means we have to do this together.
Great. Thank you so very much. Viewers, we are speaking to Mr. Daniel Amoatika, who is a registered nurse and an epidemiologist, as well as a PhD student at the University of South Carolina, Columbia, USA. And he's just shared a bit of his life with us so far. Now he's telling us how you can secure a PhD scholarship specifically in the US. And from what I've gathered so far from his discussion, he had a research interest. And so therefore, if you're looking for a PhD anywhere, obviously you need to be very critical. You need to be very specific about what you want to do. Have a look at that. And obviously, if you have some great experience in that field, of course, that will inure to your own benefit. And also reach out to people or professors and doctors who might be advertising PhD scholarships or projects, because like he rightly said, most of the professors are usually having grant running programs, and they'll need someone who could be more like a research assistant in that capacity as a PhD student. So be on the lookout, communicate. Write a very good email, reach out to them. Don't just write a blank email. A lot of
no. And when you're writing your email, it's very important, right? Just go look at the professor you're writing to. Look at the publications. Just look through so you have an idea how to even like talk to the person. Let the person know that, oh, I've been following you for some time now. I'm impressed. I just read your latest blah blah blah, and I'm really interested in working with you. Let the person know that indeed you have an interest. You have to show it. It's not just about shooting an email. You can shoot an empty email, but the email has to contain certain ingredients that will tell this professor that yes, this is somebody who really has an interest. Just look at the profile of the professor you're shooting the email to, look at the publications, go through a few of them. We're not saying read all of them, but just go through a few of them and try to align with your research interests. It's very simple.
Great. Thank you very much. Viewers, we are speaking to Mr. Daniel Amoatika, and he's a registered nurse and epidemiologist and also a PhD student at the University of South Carolina, USA. My name is Precious Adadidiodu, ably produced by Mr. James Kwabena Opon, and you are watching the Discovery Show TDS TV here on Facebook and on YouTube. Can I just share something with you? In case you need bags, books, footwears, clothes, to be shipped to you from any part of the world, to wherever you are, or you want to buy them and you want a company to ship that to you, please look no further than Henbeck 60 Hub. Henbeck 60 Hub. You can contact them on Facebook or on +233 546 022 952. +233 546 022 952. Or you can send them an email at henbecktravels@gmail.com. henbecktravels@gmail.com. If you need footwears, clothes, watches, bags, books, and what have you, you need to look no further than Henbeck 60 Hub. They are the proud sponsors of this program. So yeah, Daniel, back to you. You've mentioned that from UDS, you went to do epidemiology, UDS nursing, epidemiology, MPhil, University of Ghana. Then obviously you won a PhD, scholarship to South Carolina University. And here you are, you love what you're doing. You're telling us how you got there, have a research interest. You spoke about GRE and you said, you need to, if you do your best and you get, a very high score for GRE, obviously, a lot of the university might reach out to you yourself. Tell us for just 30 seconds to 1 minute, for those of the people who don't know what GRE is, what is it about? Because they may be wondering, what is GRE?
So it's an entrance exam that most universities in America apply to international applicants. That's those who have not schooled in America. If you've not had your master's or your first degree in America, mostly that's the record they used to. It's based on just 3 sections: English, mathematics, and analytics, your ability to analyze situations. So those are the key things. And I think the mostly is from our high school mathematics. And then the English is our everyday English. Except the analytics, that is nothing serious to be worried about. Honestly, it's one of the easiest, it's actually the easiest component of the exam, the analytics. But just your mathematics, getting that right. And there are so many online study sites that you can get material for free. You don't have to pay for anything, that you can go through and write this exam, right? But because of COVID, most of the schools have waived this. I don't know if this is back, but I do know that most of the schools have waived GRE. So that's an opportunity. Once you get a chance to apply to school, please do now before it's reinstated. But if it's reinstated, it's not an issue. You can go take that exam. Just some few weeks of intensive studies and you go through this.
Does that mean without GRE, people cannot get into the, of course, like you did mention, some schools waive it. Is it at large or only very few people? I mean, if it's something you know, is it a lot of schools that waive GRE? Or, I mean, so here in the UK, for example, only few schools will take applications fee for your master's applications and all that. I know in the US, quite a number of schools take applications fees and all that. Would you want to be able to expose us a bit on that together with the GRE?
So in the US, the only application fee you pay is just through the SOFA system. That's centralized. Every school that if it's a public health related, I think back then I paid $134. It's just across all schools. It's a centralized system. That's the SOFA system that you pay that. But for the GRE, that's at an individual level. Once you write your GRE,
per application, sorry, the money you paid, is it per application? So if you're applying for, say, 10 PhDs and masters, do you pay that money for each of them, or just
no? It's just a one-time payment. It's a one-time payment.
Okay. Great. So we've spoken about
just pay once and then you apply. Yes.
Spoken about GRE, the SOFA system application portal, isn't it? And then, of course, your research interest, contacting people, and then where there's a need for interview, you do an interview. What else do you need to do to enhance your chances of getting either a master's or a PhD in US?
Before contacting your advisor, I think that you should have a very good personal statement. A personal statement speaks about you as a person, your schooling, what you've been able to do. I mean, if somebody picks your personal statement, they should be able to know that, okay, Daniel said he worked in Barbados. Okay, this is the achievement. This is what he's been able to do with this degree. And then what does he intend to do? What your personal statement tells the people, okay, at the end of this program, I intend to use this degree to do this, to help my people, to study, become a public health expert, contribute to public health worldwide, to go back to my country. I mean, most importantly, these people like to hear that you want to come back to your country, because if you're given the problem in your country, right, you're trying to convince people that give me the opportunity to come study. And because of this, my country has these issues. And then at the end of the day, if you're not telling me that you want to come back to your country, then what then is the motivation? What's the reason why we should really offer you this scholarship? So your personal statement should really, really, really contain all these ingredients, right? Who you are as a person, your interests, your experiences, your work experiences, and then the desire to come back to your country and help, right? And most of them too, not most of them, all of them actually require recommendation letters too. All of them, they require recommendation letters, 3 recommendation letters, 2 from your academic institution, and then maybe 1 from your work institution. Yes, these are people that really make a difference. But trust me, American system, they rely more on recommendation than even your personal statement. They are going to rely more on your recommendation letters. So be sure the person who's writing your recommendation letter is doing a very good job for you, not somebody you're probably forced to do because it's a requirement that you need to present it. It should be something worthy. It should be something that has, or something appealing that anybody that takes it really appreciates. That, okay, this is a future, this is a graduate research assistant, teaching assistant I'm going to recruit into my study. This person is going to contribute meaningfully. So get your recommendations good. They should be standard, have some appealing part of it.
Fantastic. So now tell us, if there's someone watching us who need a postgraduate scholarship, I mean, for studies in US, which of the ones are you available? Are you able to share with us, enlighten people on scholarships in the US?
Scholarship in the US, scholarships. I mean, what I do know is basically these ones that are based on grants, that are school specific, that are department specific. These are the ones I really think which I can recommend to people. But then again, there are other ones that may be, but chances with those ones are usually limited as compared to, because if I look at my class, most of us, the PhD students in the class, are international students. Right? That tells you that most of the time, chances of getting the PhD as an international student are high. So I would usually recommend the institutional level grants related fellowships. These are the ones I would suggest to people.
Thank you so very much. Please like our pages, follow us, subscribe to our pages on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, and also on Instagram. The name is at The Discovery Show TDS TV. My name is Precious Adadidio, ably produced by Mr. James Kwabena Opon, and we are speaking to Mr. Daniel Amoatika, who is a registered nurse and also an epidemiologist, as well as a PhD student at University of South Carolina in the US. And Daniel has spoken to us about his life, his journey into PhD now. And we want to just, move a little bit before we come to life in US. If you want to know more about life in US and all that, even life after school. But before that, let's do a bit of the academia, the research and all that. Earlier when you were speaking, I said we will come back to that. You did mention that when you were in Legon, University of Ghana, you try to research about money handling practices among food vendors. And obviously, for those of us who are from a certain part of the world, we know how some of these roadside food vendors will pick the money. They will handle it with the same hand they are using to fetch the food for people. Tell us, what did you find? And I think this cut across to a lot of people. I know others have done some research around the area, but what did you find? What will be your advice to us? Because one of your key areas is health promotion. So tell us.
Okay, thanks. So in that study, like I said, myself, Smith, Ifa, Mr. Greg, and Kweku, we did a study at the common market of the University of Ghana. If you've been to the University of Ghana, you know that the ninth market and the common market serve a bunch of students over there. So that was an observational study that we conducted, trying to see how our food vendors, how they handle money. Because prior to that, there were studies that were conducted in the KNUST that showed that the Ghana currency, especially the 1 cedi, was harboring a whole bunch of organisms. And these organisms are mostly diarrhea-causing organisms. So we sought to see, okay, how do these food vendors handle money in terms of the connect? We got in there and we realized that most of the women, or most of the food vendors, I should say, once they can take the money from you with their bare hands and then straightforward use the same hand to serve food, as in, let's say, cut the food for you. And we thought that was unhealthy. And we observed that in about 98% of the food vendors that was going on. Prior to that, I think there was a year before that, there was an outbreak of cholera in Legon that we could not actually identify the source. And then we hypothesized that that could be the reason. In fact, that was a study that WHO took interest in. So I presented this study in Thailand in 2017 at the TEFNET 9th Congress. I presented this study in there. So our findings and our recommendations or public health suggestions that we made was that at least if the food vendors cannot, if they cannot use tongues as that would be appropriate to serve the food, we are suggesting that they should have like somebody nearby, somebody specifically designated to be collecting the money, where they don't have to use both hands and serving food and both hands collecting the money at the same time, right? So those were some of the suggestions. And then we also suggested to the school to provide training and retraining vendors. That was something we really took up. But I don't know the situation right now, if there's been any progress, any improvement in terms of food and money handling practices at the common market. That I don't know right now. But that was something we took up. We went that far to actually advocate for that.
Do you think some post-study surveillance would have been helpful?
Oh, sure. That would definitely have been helpful. That would definitely have been helpful.
The task I'm giving to you and your team now. What do you think, Daniel?
Well, me and my team right now will love to, but my team right now, we're all scattered as to whether we can do that.
You can recruit
That's going to be tough.
You can recruit some research assistant to follow up for you. We would love to hear from you. Follow up. What do you think?
Well, we take it up. We take it up. I'll talk to them about that. Let's see if there's been any change. I mean, every year the program actually has every cohort goes through that. We were cohort 10, now we were in cohort 16, I think so. So we can actually make a follow up to the department to see some other cohort can go through the same study. Then we try to compare the studies, the initial findings, and now try to find out if there's been any significant changes. Yeah, we can surely do that. I mean, that's actually a great idea. Thanks.
Thanks very much for accepting the challenge. So obviously you did talk about the fact that one of the main reasons why you went into epidemiology was the fact that where you were working, someone was misdiagnosed or improperly diagnosed of, HIV/AIDS. And of course, it came with its own side effect, the stigma and all the other things, the psychological effect. I can imagine in the depth of such problem or such, effect. And so you went ahead to do a research work that you call, or you titled, Post-Market Assessment of Two Rapid Diagnostic Test Kits using the diagnosis of HIV in the one municipality, Ghana. You published that in 2018. So obviously, diagnosis of HIV is huge. And it was, I'm sure it's because of this misdiagnosis. Tell us, what did you find? Have you made any advancement in our diagnosis criteria back home in Ghana? Are we following the right criteria as prescribed by the WHO? What would be your advice to people? HIV in general, if there's someone watching us, you want to educate the person about HIV, what we can do to help people who are patient living with HIV and all that. Can you use about 5 to 10 minutes to expand that before we come to life in the US, getting there and all that? So just talk to us about your research you did.
Okay. It wasn't really the findings were not really at my workplace, but that was the study setting. I used to work in Accra, but I was just curious when I went through the national data on HIV. I realized that the prevalence of HIV in the Upper West region was higher than the national prevalence. So I was kind of just thinking through what could be the reason. Even though Upper West had, at that time, we had only just 10 regions, Upper West was the least populated among the 10 regions. I was wondering, a very small region, and we have this prevalence of HIV that higher than the national prevalence. So I was interested. It was true that I carried out this study in the Upper West region. All right. So basically, I was trying to look at the sensitivity, the ability of the test kits that we use. In Ghana, we do what we call series testing. That's the test with the first test kit, right? That's the first response, and then the oral quick. But this is the thing about the testing system. Even though on paper that's what we say we do in Ghana, it's hard to know that people have been confirmed with oral quick. Oral quick is not a confirmatory test; it's a complementary test. But unfortunately, people are being confirmed as HIV positive with a rapid diagnostic test kit. These test kits come with their own issues, right? First of all, they are temperature dependent. These test kits have to be stored between 40 to 30 degrees. But you and I understand, we know the challenges, the erratic power supply. We understand that. And knowing that Upper West is in the Savannah belt, where we have temperatures most of the time exceeding 40 degrees, chances are that people will definitely be misdiagnosed. The test kits are most likely to turn out some false positives. That was expected. But then again, we have to also understand that having or doing an ELISA, Enolia, these they're very expensive. In resource limited settings, we will not have the luxury to do that. So we have to understand, okay, oral quick could be confirmatory, even though not accepted, but in a resource limited setting, they use that, right? So I was trying to just evaluate how sensitive are the test kits, what's the ability of the test kits in terms of WHO recommendations. If we try to, let's put it like on a scale of 100, how many times are we likely to miss? So in terms of sensitivity, what is the ability of the test kits to pick up somebody who's actually HIV positive? In terms of being specific, what is the ability or what's the chance that these test kits can detect that this person doesn't have HIV when in fact the person really doesn't have HIV, right? And in the findings were mind-blowing, right? It was, the percentages were 88%. That was for the first response in terms of sensitivity. And the WHO recommends a confidence interval less than equals to 99%. So we were way off the target already. And then again, in terms of specificity, that was 92%. WHO again was way, so you can see that in terms of the sensitivity and then the specificity of the test kits, we were not matching, we were nowhere close to WHO recommendations. But then again, resource limited setting. But this life is only once, and over there, we have like levels of education, in these hard to reach communities, being low, people do not understand the stigma that comes with HIV. So once your diagnosis is not true, but they say you have HIV, psychologically that's going to put the person through so much stress. And we know what stress can do. Stress can actually lead to a whole lot of other psychological or mental issues we don't want to go deep into. But that was the situation. Those were the findings. And then once I got these findings, it was again my boss back at now, MJ. MJ now works at Ghana AIDS Commission. It was through her ingenuity, her kindness, they got me all these test kits for free to carry out this test. This study, I got them for free through the Ghana AIDS Commission. Through her, she worked that for me. So I think for now. So I think like I don't know the situation right now in terms of the strides we've made with regards to HIV diagnosis, but I'm hoping that we can keep on doing our best. We can keep on, even if it's going to take time, at least once in a while. If I don't know the status of the hospital, if right now they are able to do ELISA, if they're able to do it earlier, I don't know. But I hope they're able to do that now. But if they can't, hopefully, most of the time we do not rush to confirm diagnosis of HIV. We're able to send samples to the National Public Reference Lab in Tamale or in Accra. I know it's tough sending those samples because I have to go through that, sending them and specified. Sometimes they have to be centrifuged before and all of that. But for the sake of lives are involved, so the right thing has to be done. If we're actually working to save lives, we have to go through the pain to make sure that what we are doing is the right thing to do. So that has been it, and it's been an eye opener for me, because once I interviewed this person, I had to understand the other dynamics to HIV diagnosis. It's not just being told that you have HIV, even though there's treatment available, the anti-retrovirals, they are working. But beyond that, having to take these daily, the side effects, and there's nothing as traumatizing as the stress that comes with the stigma. So I had to understand that. And that was when I aligned, I had to really refocus what I wanted to do to change my study area. So my interest right now is more into HIV diagnosis, all right, but I'm also into aging and cognitive decline, because several studies have shown that people that have HIV, what we have of HIV associated dementia, they develop a whole lot of other psychological conditions way earlier as compared to people at their age level who do not have HIV.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much. This program is ably sponsored by Henbeck 60 Hub. And I said, if you need any bags, books, watches, clothes, and that you want to buy them in large quantities from any part of the world, ship that to any other part of the world. You just need to contact Henbeck 60 Hub on +233 546 022 952. +233 546 022 952, or send them an email at henbecktravels@gmail.com, henbecktravels@gmail.com, or you can just contact them on Facebook at Henbeck 60 Hub, and they will do a wonderful work for you. Henbeck 60 Hub, they say truly a world of endless possibilities. So tell us, Daniel, I know you are still doing your PhD, but obviously I'm sure you have some great knowledge about what is life after USA. If there's someone watching us who is considering where to live, where to do your postgraduate studies, and probably afterwards live, in that country, what have you learned? What is the procedure for living in US right after school?
Okay. So far what I've learned is once you're done with school, most of us come with F1 visa, that's a student visa, which restricts how many hours you can work. For example, right now, I work as a graduate research assistant, but I work only 20 hours a week because I'm in school. But in the vacation, in the summer, I can work up to 40 hours, right? But once you're done with school, you can actually work with F1 visa. There are limitations to it. But once you're done with school, you can apply for what we call optional practical training. That's 12 months. There are actually two ways to apply this, either before you complete or after you complete. But before you complete, you don't need a job before you apply for that. They can extend it for you for 12 months. But if you can apply for it before you complete, chances are that it's risky. If you apply before you complete and you get it, you might waste it, because if you don't get a job, it means you can use it and you can apply for it again. Or if you apply for it, chances of getting are now like very limited. That's just the one way. There's another one we call STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, or mathematics related studies. If you're doing all these studies, it's a very long list that you can apply after your studies. You get a job, you can work for like 24 months, that's 2 years after your studies. If you choose that, if the company you're working for, if they're interested in keeping you, they now have to apply for them to change your visa status. So, I mean, if you get opportunity to stay after your school for 2 years, do your optional training or practice, it's an opportunity for you to impress, and hopefully your company can apply for the change in visa status for you, right? And then the third one is what we call the national interest waiver. With this really it's a tough process, but you have to prove to the Department of Home Security that America needs you. You have to go beyond reasonable doubt and convince that America needs you, where you have to give like permanent resident or a green card. And this maybe one other way you can do this is you need to show that, okay, I've carried out about 3 or 4 research in America, and I've seen that I can contribute to the area of research in America. If that's convincing, fine. And you still need recommendations from maybe the school. Some professors have recommended, okay, this guy is going to be very valuable to America. America is going to need him. So we recommend that you give him the green card or the permanent residence. So there are actually 3 ways that I've mentioned. The first one is the OPT, or optional practical training. The second one is the STEM. The OPT is 12 months. The STEM is 24 months. And then the national interest waiver, proving to the people of the American people that you are valuable, they need your service. That's getting a green card. So these are ways you can actually, if you want to stay and work here, yes, these are opportunities that you might want to explore.
So for the national interest waiver, as you rightly mentioned, that means that for that, if you are given straight away, you get a green card, you don't need to work for any number of years before they give you a green card. Is that what you're saying? But the others are not like that.
No, the others are not like that. But once you get a national interest waiver, that is it. You have your green card. That's it. But you have to really prove that. That's why most of us, once we come here, we take the stress. We know that if you're looking at the bigger picture, you have to really work a lot. You need to impress. You work on having like so many publications as much as possible, you know. So when the time is due for you to make your application, you know that, okay, truly America needs me. But if I complete after 4 years of completion, I don't have any publication, what does America need me for? There are so many people with PhDs anyway, right? So you have to begin contributing from the word go. Once you come in here, you have to begin contributing from the word go. Life is very stressful. I'm going to be straight with you. It's very stressful. If I compare me in my first year in Legon, having 12 credit hours to studying 12 credit hours right here, I can't survive it. I'm doing 10. That's the maximum I've done, and it's very time demanding. True, I'm a stay in Legon. I'm very cool at studying at home, but right here with 10 credit hours, I need to be in the library.
So talking about stress, what are the social support systems available for you if you are studying in the US? How do you support yourself emotionally, psychologically, and all that? How do you support yourself?
Well, emotional stress and all of the support. I mean, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you this. You need to have like a very good social network of friends that are really willing to talk to you. America is not home. It's not Ghana. I mean, your next door neighbor doesn't even know your name. You meet anybody in there, maybe you're probably just going to take the elevator down there. That's it. But it's up to you. I mean, how do you de-stress? How do you find your way around? For me, like, I have a bunch of social network of friends that I talk to, right? If I'm not studying, I'm not a movie type, that's what I do. I talk to them. Then the other thing is, there's so much stress. So right after work, what I do is I spend my time in the gym. You mostly find me in the gym between 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. there. I'm in the gym. But these are places I really try to get my stress out, right? And what used to make me happy probably would be like, I want to play FIFA. I play PS5 with my guys online. But I don't have that time anymore because I know that Monday I have an assignment that is due. Tuesday I have an assignment that is due. Wednesday, I have to go meet my advisor, give my advisor updates on the projects we're working on. Thursday, I have an assignment that is due that I have to also go for class the entire Thursday. So that luxury of probably coming online to play games, I know I don't have that option. So just talk to a few people, then I work out a lot. And if you're not careful here too, you can easily run into depression. Very easy, very, very easy. Right. You know that it's overwhelming. There's so much, the demands are high on you. You need to do a lot. You still need to work, you know. But once in a while, you really have to go out there and have fun. Trust me. You have to. It's necessary. It's not like it's a luxury. It's necessary. If not, you're just going to be accumulating stress, thinking you're doing yourself good. And we all know the accumulation of stress. Using the social stress model, you know where it's going to lead you into. You wouldn't like the outcome. You might feel like at the moment, I'm doing well with the stress, but once stress accumulates, it's something else. So you just have to figure it out. Have fun at least once a month or once a week. Do it.
Great. Thank you so very much, Daniel. So tell us, I mean, you've said a lot, but there are people watching us. If I give you 3 minutes to tell us whatever is on your heart, what will be your concluding remarks? What are you very passionate about at this moment? If you met anyone and want to advise the person, share anything with the person, what are you going to tell the person?
First and foremost, I never forget that thing my brother told me, like when I was a kid. Life is not a bed of roses. How you see people out there like probably achieving greatness, there's one side they never show you. That's how the stress they go through, how they want you to get it. But it's all about how much do you want it, that you go through all of that. And I try to tell people how I went through to get here. I probably didn't share that part of the story. I had to, I went to Barbados to work as a nurse, right? I was supposed to work in the emergency. I worked for 1 week.
Are you part of the 375 that was sent by the government of Ghana?
No, we're 95. We're not 300. We're 95.
Oh, 95. Okay, 95.
Yes. I was. My first week working in the emergency, I was there working. My second week, I didn't finish it. I had a call during my break and I picked. I was like, my name is Dr. Corey Ford, infectious disease specialist at the Queen Hospital. Daniel, when can we meet? I'm like, okay. And I met him. And it's like, Daniel, I've been going through your CV. You have a PhD, you have wrongfully in epidemiology. The hospital doesn't have any epidemiologist. Can we count on you? And I want the answer now, because if I have to, you have to start working on Monday as the hospital epidemiologist. I was like, okay, so you guys still go through our files? I thought we've been employed and working already. And that was it. I was moved from working as a nurse to being the hospital epidemiologist. I had been working throughout there. That was like about 1 year, 3 months as the hospital epidemiologist before I left. So these are the things. And the other thing is, if I was looking at the fact that, okay, I have an MPhil in epidemiology, there's no point really going to do work as a nurse in Barbados. This was never going to come. Even though at that point I was going to Barbados, I knew very well when I was going to leave and go to school. Trust me, I knew I was going to leave at some point and go to school, because I was just waiting for just my admission letter. I'd gotten my scholarship, I'd gotten my advice and all of that. But I personally believe that there's nothing like small opportunity. I believe that everything is a humble beginning, no matter how it is. And that has been for me, right? If I want to be telling stories that I had to go through, when I completed school, I was working for 600 cities as a nurse in Winneba, until I got the opportunity to live there, right there, and go work at Amoatika. That's like one of the best in Ghana that we know in terms of payment and all of that. But I didn't despise my small beginning. So if I meet somebody today, what I would tell the person, never despise small beginnings. They're just like, they lead you to greater things that you never know. And then never think that somebody has gotten something on a silver platter. Ask questions as much as you can once you meet people. They will tell you, and that sometimes is even more motivational than them even leading you to it. They're just telling you what they've been through to be where they are. But at the end of the day, it depends on you how much you want it.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much, Daniel. You've been very expressive, and we are grateful for sitting with us here on the Discovery Show. I can see Safira Obimba watching as well. And then Henry Oforidia. Henry says, thanks for watching. Henry, thanks very much for watching as well. Yeah, so I think you've been very, very magnanimous sharing your life with us. Janet Tijima says, "God bless our small beginnings." Very, very important. Janet, you've shared, your journey with us, how you were able to get into a PhD, how we shouldn't think that people are getting things on a silver platter, but we should be ready to work hard to attain whatever we want to achieve. The main purpose for which this platform has been created to speak to people who are making significant impact in their own areas so that you can be encouraged and you can also be challenged to move a step higher. Never despise your small beginnings, as you mentioned. It is very critical to our growth, and most times we despise that. We think, oh, I just am looking for something big, but until you take that small step, that will build you or give you an experience that will prepare you for the next stage. Sometimes you may never get there. So thank you so very much, Daniel. Are there any final words? Anything anything that is dear to your heart that I haven't asked you so far? Are you able to share that? Just concluding remarks, shout out, anything you want to say.
Maybe I probably just talk about current HIV treatments that are available in terms of it's not really a treatment available.
I think there was something. Let me ask this so you tie that up with it. Within 5 minutes, we can finish this. There was something, sure. A story that has developed that I was going to ask you. You know, there's been this cure for HIV through accidental stem cell transplants. That story, you heard that, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is your view on that?
Well, my view on that is I think it's not accidental because right now we have 3. Apart from the Berlin case, that was the initial one. We've had one in London too, so it's been 3. So I think it's working, you know, but it also has its challenges for real. Because first of all, we really don't know in terms of safetiness and all of that, we don't know how safe it is because with the studies available, we are seeing that it's about 40 to 55% mortality. That's very high. That's really high. That means that if it's 55, that's like 6 people out of 10 people are likely to die out of the complications or other things from this therapy. And then it's a gene a transplant, right? That specific resistant gene is not common in the general population. So it means there might have to be like gene editing, and that's going to depend on how efficient the gene editing would go. And we are not sure, we can't be 100% sure that gene editing will not also come out with its own complications. So these are the things. And then again, ethically, that's not ethical yet. The only thing that is ethical about this is it's actually used for cancer, those who have no alternative treatment for cancer. Ethically, that is approved, but in terms for treatment for HIV, that hasn't been approved yet. But we are hoping that we are able to have a very good gene editing. Once we can have very good gene editing, then we are sure that hopefully we can make progress. Because at the moment, it's not in the entire population. It's just a few of the general population that have that HIV-resistant gene that can be used for the transplant. So yeah, we're making progress. But most important, I think, in terms of the HIV antiretrovirals that we are using, that's actually something that's really working. Our only issue in like for us in developing countries is the issue of stigma that is really retarding the progress we make on a daily basis. But it's going to take a whole lot of health promotion. It's going to take a whole lot of like concerted efforts for us to be able to overcome that. So hopefully with time, one day we can make a whole progress as a people in terms of stigma, and then our HIV antiretrovirus uptake can also help improve the lives of our people. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so very much. Viewers, it's been a pleasure, being your host. My name is Precious Adadidio, ably produced by Mr. James Kwabena Opon. Here on The Discovery Show, we say yearn to learn, a show that basically seeks to interview professionals in the diaspora and beyond who are making significant impact in the area of healthcare, politics, religion, academia, and what have you. And we've been speaking to Mr. Daniel Amoatika, who is a registered nurse and also an epidemiologist, as well as a PhD student at South Carolina University or University of South Carolina in USA. And we are grateful that you sat with us. Daniel. Thank you so very much. And we hope to speak to you sometime, by which time we hope you would have gone back for the post-study surveillance. You would have helped with gene editing in your field. And you'll be saying that, Charlie, there's a man called Daniel Amoatika, Dr. Daniel Amoatika, who is into gene editing and helping to, treat, HIV and all that. And then we say that indeed he's been on TDS show and we would love to interview you again. So thank you so very much. We wish you all the best in your career and we hope that God will guide your path and shine your light brighter and brighter and brighter. If someone wants to reach you for some sort of support and all that, how can they reach you, Daniel?
If somebody wants to reach me, if it's on Facebook, it's just Jeremy Amoatika, or my email. You can just add D to my last name, damoatika@yahoo.com, or Gmail, the same damoatika at Gmail or at Yahoo. That's my email. That's where you can reach me. Or if it's Facebook, you might have to look for Jeremy Amoatika. That's my middle name, and you can still find me. I'm more than willing to help. I'm more than willing to help share. I have some of these schools that are in my email. I can just forward to anybody who has an interest in that. I can share them. Yeah.
Amazing. And as Suma Joseph says, proud of you, guy. And we are great definitely with the last part, which is also a prayer for you. Go higher. Thank you so very much, Daniel, and we wish you all the best. Viewers, it's been a pleasure serving you. We are out. Have a lovely evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and stay blessed.